You're watching TimesXP. I'm Driti Atri, and here are the biggest stories that are making headlines across the globe today. So, let's start with it. Trump calls and MBS waits. That's right, US President Mr. Donald Trump pushes for Saudi-Israel normalization right after the Gaza ceasefire. Well, MBS listens but does not commit. He demands Palestinian statehood guarantees. Well, the outcome hangs on who blinks first. Middle East chess match begins now. Trump wants a historic win. MBS wants strategic leverage. Every word on the call carries geopolitical weight. In fact, one misstep can collapse the plan. The tensions between ambition and caution is explosive. Palestine is the deal breaker here. Saudi Arabia refuses any normalization without addressing Palestinian right. Now, this puts the US and Israel under a lot of pressure. MBS won't risk domestic backlash. He knows that the Arab world is watching closely. Israel watches nervously. That's right. Israel hopes Saudi Arabia joins the Abraham Accord. But Riyadh's condition complicates the entire path here. Jerusalem can't influence MBS directly. The whole region feels the uncertainty. Russia approaches Hawaii. A Russian intel ship enters dangerously close to the water. In the meantime, the US forces scramble in real time. Washington treats this as a direct message from Moscow. Well, right now the Pacific is a new pressure point. The Karelia isn't a visitor, it is a warning. This ship, it belongs to Russia's spy fleet. Well, its movements are deliberate and not accidental, of course. US intelligence tracks its minute-by-minute movement. Every single radar ping raises serious tensions here. Trump's Caribbean pressure on Maduro. US operations target cartel-linked vessels near Venezuela. Here, Trump intensified the sanctions and military presence. In fact, a $50 million bounty is placed on Maduro. The pressure campaign is reaching a boiling point now. Russia backs Maduro, and that too really hard. Moscow says that any US aggression will have consequences. Russian warships and aircraft begin responding now, and the Caribbean has now become a silent standoff. Neither side wants war, but neither will back down. Turkey rejects the US-Israeli Gaza plan. Ankara demands a defined mandate for Gaza stabilization force. Turkey insists on strict political framework. They refuse any sort of plan that risks the future chaos. Erdogan wants influence and not sidelines. Egypt joins the diplomatic tug of war. United Nations draft negotiations intensify. In the meantime, Egypt pushes for Arab priorities to be included. Cairo and Ankara find common ground. The Arab world right now refuses to be passive observer. Turkey offers troops. Israel says no. Well, Turkey here wants boots on the ground in Gaza. Israel insists only neutral countries should participate. Now this triggers new diplomatic friction. Gaza's reconstruction becomes a global battlefield. Pentagon fears F-35 tech leaks. Trump pushes a massive F-35 sale to Saudi Arabia, but in the meantime, now here Pentagon fears that China might gain the access via Riyadh. Well, the jet's stealth secrets are at risk. America's crown jewel tech hangs in balance. China's shadow over Riyadh. Saudi-China ties, they grow stronger every single year. Shared missile, drone programs, everything worry Washington right now. In fact, Beijing could indirectly study the US tech. This deal could unintentionally empower America's biggest rival. Nuclear ambitions raise alarm. Saudi Arabia wants the US help with a civilian nuclear program. But in the meantime, Pentagon fear military misuse. Nuclear weapon capabilities has become a real possibility now. A nuclear-armed Saudi Arabia would reshape the region overnight. Israel fears losing its military edge here. Israel is currently the only nation in the region with F-35s. Now introducing the Gulf nation into the equation creates imbalance here. So Tel Aviv lobbies hard to maintain superiority here. Washington right now must navigate its closest allies' anxiety. The Caribbean turns volatile. An anti-drug strike killed 80 near Venezuela. In the meantime, Colombia calls the victim innocent fishermen. While the region erupts in outrage against Washington, diplomats, they scramble to prevent the escalation. Colombia and Venezuela unite. Petro condemns the United States strike publicly. Maduro mobilizes troops nationwide, and in the meantime, rivals turn allies against a shared interest. Basically, a historic shift that Washington didn't expect. 200,000 troops on alert. Venezuelan forces prepare for a worst-case scenario right now. Colombia, well, that country boosts coordination with Caracas. US warship monitors from the Caribbean. The entire region has now become a pressure cooker. Iranian colonel defects. Earthquake in Tehran right now. Colonel Sajjad. Well, he publicly flaunts the band, lion and sun flag. This is the boldest military revelation in years now. In fact, the regime senses internal crackdown growing. A coup rumor gains momentum here. In fact, Azadeh hints that more officers are ready. In the meantime, intelligence agencies scramble behind the scenes. The streets buzz with whispers of a revolt Tehran hasn't faced since the year 2009. IDF crushes Hamas plan in the West Bank. Israeli forces conducted 15 coordinated raids. A major Hamas cell is dismantled now. Weapons and explosives are sealed. Well, the West Bank remains tense but secured for now. Body cam footage goes viral. Helmet cams show door breaches and arrests. Well, the footage becomes a national security message here. Israel displays operational precision, and in the meantime, digital warfare becomes the part of a real warfare. Hamas's backup plan fails completely here. Intended shooting attacks are stopped in time. Israeli civilians and soldiers, they remain unharmed. And in the meantime, Hamas loses a critical network, but the cycle of retaliation, it may return. Another Iranian colonel calls for uprising. That's right, Air Force Colonel Komazani. He urges millions to march on November 16th. This is the open threat from the army here. The regime faces a storm that it can never predict. Uprising call shakes Tehran right now. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens share the video across Iran. Security forces go into emergency mode. The symbolism here, it sparks nationwide debate. The march could actually make or break the moment. Viral video in Tehran metro, two men in uniform raising the lion and sun flag. In the meantime, crowds watch in shock as they chant anti-regime slogans. Well, authorities claim that the uniforms were fake, but the damage to the regime's image, it's already done. Public defiance goes mainstream. Well, this isn't a hidden protest anymore. It's bold, it's open. Ordinary Iranian film and share instantly. In the meantime, regime censors can't keep up. The single act may inspire hundreds more. Iran blasts the US at the UN. Their foreign minister, Mr. Abbas Araghchi, demands the US accountability. He accuses Washington of illegal strike. He calls for repatriation and punishment. Well, Iran escalates its diplomatic war now. Trump's admission sparks global shock. Trump claims that he directed Israel's strike on Iran, and Iran seized the moment to hit back. The timing boosts Iran's UN offensive. The admission becomes a geopolitical weapon. Iran attacks the G7 for hypocrisy. That's right. Iran accuses the G7 of selective justice here. Tehran says that the West ignores its own violation. They accuses Europe and the US also of double standards here. A global blame game intensifies as tensions rise. And with that, that's a wrap up of our 30 news bulletins from around the globe. From Gaza to Israel, from Iran to the United States, the world is changing and so is geopolitics, and TimesXP is here to give you all the recent updates that matters a lot. I'm Driti Atri, keeping you informed.